Well, today I have the honor of being with this amazing, incredible, brilliant, beautiful woman. Her name is Kay Hutchinson, and I get to share her with you today. And you are going to be so excited from Colli Talks, transformative conversations, that I actually had the honor of having Kay with us today. So now I'm going to give you a little background on Kay. There's a lot, but I'm going to give you a little, and you can always connect with her later. Kay Hutchinson helps sensitive women who have experienced narcissistic abuse reclaim their physical health and relive emotional discombobulation with quick energy resets from the medical Qigong system, an ancient form of healing over 2,000 years old. Kay is a thought leader in the field of medical Qigong and Chinese medicine with over 21 years of clinical experience as an energy healer and herbalist. Kay emphasizes the eye-opening concept that narcissists deliberately destroy our 5 human energy tanks that are responsible for vibrant health, stable emotions, and soul evolution. This is why women struggle with physical illness, anxiety, depression, and a disconnect from their souls when they have experienced narcissistic abuse, even when they have engaged years of therapy and have visited countless doctors. Kay discovered years ago that no one was showing women how to heal their energy tanks in a way specific to narcissistic abuse. So she asked questions to her colleagues and clients. Without restoring the energy tanks that narcissists damage, how can a woman expect to recover their health fully and restore the emotional stability and soul connection to source? Well, through her podcast, which is brilliant, called Get Your Mojo Back, Quick Resets to Help Empathetic Women Heal Narcissistic Abuse, and her healing membership, Kay takes women on a journey of healing resets that are informed by not only her clinical experiences, but also the lived experience of surviving married to a narcissist. Oh my goodness, an experience that awakened even deeper passion to help women to reignite their body, mind, and soul potential. Now, a little bit of her certifications here. Advanced Metal Qigong Practitioner, CAMQ, trained at the Longevity Institute and Clinic under the guidance of Dr. Arnold Tay M. I hope that's correct, Dr. Tay M. In a 3-year training program, including movement and clinical forms of medical Qigong and energy emissions techniques, with an emphasis on emotional healing. This program included trainings from lineages of Master Hao Chi Ni, and she sought additional postgraduate trainings with Master Jeffrey Yan and Grandmaster Herbalist John Feng. Acupressurist with emotional balance focus, CAMT, trained at the Acupressure Institute under the guidance of Michael, and I hope I pronounce this correct, Goch, and a BS in applied Bachelor of Science in Applied Development and triple certification as an educator from the University of Texas at Austin, with an emphasis in both special and regular education. Wow. Oh my goodness. I am honored. I am so excited. And like I said before, I'm so blessed and so grateful that you are here with us, Kay. Welcome.
Thank you, Colli. It is truly a privilege and an honor for me to be here in the same space with you. We've known each other for about 3 years, and it's just been an incredible journey of both of us growing in such incredible ways. So I am just so happy to be here. I'm bouncing around. It's hard to sit. And let's get the big motion flowing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, 3 years and who's counting, right? It's a lifetime membership between you and I. You know, we're family. We're in this tribe together, girl. I know it. So today I wanted to ask you, what motivated you? What motivated you to become what you are doing?
Absolutely. You know, I came into this world as a really highly sensitive child that was overwhelmed by the world. And I remember having this experience, Colli, of learning how to walk in Hawaii. and having rambunctious older brothers while I was a toddler rushing past, and boom, before you know it, I landed on my back and I was just laying there in this really wet grass because every day it rained,
Oh,
looking up at the sky and noticing this rainbow of amazing colors. And I remember feeling a sensation of connecting with the frequency of colors, even as the small little toddler. And that was
wow.
my first experience and memory of connecting in with energy. And little did I know that my soul had chosen parents that are chi masters of themselves. And
Oh,
so they led me on this journey of really nourishing that ability to be sensitive and notice things in the world. I had a mother who was an artist. My father is also a martial artist. And coming from two cultures, the African American culture as well as the Asian Japanese culture, I learned how to really access my superpower of sensitivity and be
mm,
able to really move through the experience of noticing that sometimes in the world there are amazing beings that wrap around and love me. And
hmm,
sometimes in the world, I come across people that are toxic and racist and narcissistic. So I
mm,
think from a very early age, I became really sensitive to the energetic differences between
hmm.
people that are really supportive and healthy and those who are not. And
Oh,
so it's been a lifelong journey of just really developing that greater acceptance of my own sensitivity. But it's really been that journey of really noticing as a practitioner, that I live in dance in
hmm.
the zone of being able to communicate through the energy language. And
Oh,
that when I just get out of the way and allow that process, I notice that clients have amazing results and that I, as a practitioner, evolve into new states. So it's been a lifelong journey. I say energy is my art that is
hmm.
continuing to just lead me into new places. And I never know what the painting's going to be. And so
Oh,
I just carry that feeling into everything that I do
oh,
clinically with my
wow. What a
clients.
beautiful description. Like it's, I went on such a journey with you right there. It was beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, you are very, I can tell, very sensitive. And I knew that, 3 years ago when we met. And I know the sensitivity of which you speak. And a lot of us, when we are sensitive, I don't know if it's been true for you, but I'm wondering, and I'm very curious now, what fascinates you about all this in terms of being this peaceful, almost a peaceful warrior. It to me, the two words, right? It's you're very peaceful, but yet there's this what you've had to go through with narcissistic abuse in your life. And could you expand a little bit more on that for our audience? Because, you know, something had to have fascinated you about all this, right? About being a peaceful warrior. And especially through the lens of narcissism.
Absolutely. I think, when I think back to what was my first consciousness of what I later became or I later learned was a narcissist and had that label, I can recall being about 4 years old in Okinawa, Japan, on this really beautiful, bright, sunny day. And there was this woman down the street that would hand out these pastries to the little kids, and they all were shaped like little butterflies, and they had this
Oh,
glistening sugar. They looked like little jewels. And the kids would just take off running and try to be the first one in line with their little hands stretched out to get these butterfly pastries. And I was running right along, but I was younger than the other kids. So I was always the last one there. And so a lot of times by the time it got to me, she was empty. But this
mm,
day, it looked like she had a really big bag. And so everybody again got ahead of me and they held their hands out and they got these jewels placed in their hands. And I was seeing that there was still more left in the bag. And when I walked up to her and I stuck my hands out and just in all eagerness, she looked down at me and she says, "None for you." And she called me the N word. And she slapped my hand away. And
oh,
I remember the sensation of almost being punched in the stomach because I'd never, one, heard that word used. I mean, I knew about the word and I knew it was something derogatory, but I had never heard it be used towards myself or any family members. And I was all of 4 years old and just not understanding what that was.
but it was a
And
wound. Like it,
it was.
oh, oh. I'm just
It was,
mortified.
yes, it was devastating. And the other children didn't seem to be very aware of it. And I just remembered my whole being feeling like it was crumbling. And I just
Hmm.
sat down and just sat there at the edge of the curb, just completely deflated. Later, when I went back home, I had this amazing mother who said to me, "This is a person who doesn't really look at other people's soul. She has a
Oh,
way
wow.
of only minimizing on the most surface of things.
Oh,
And you have to remember that people like that, their goal is to kind of, in that moment that they're hurting you, kind of grab and pull a bit of your energy. So we cannot allow her to take your shiny and make it less shiny. We can't
oh,
allow her to take your wholeness and make it less whole. So let's get out some paper and let's draw what you're feeling and let yourself put every tear, every feeling, whatever it is, into this paper. And
wow.
as you do so, you will release what she has tried to put into you, which is darkness and the opposition of love, and you will restore yourself.
Oh
So
my
that's my first experience with a
goodness.
racist narcissist. And I would venture to say that most racists are narcissists. And so, as a little child being biracial in the world,
Hmm.
I know not only learned what that felt like energetically, but I had a mother that helped me to use art and colors. And little did I know I was using the 5 elements in my
Oh my
drawings
gosh,
to kind of activate that.
I love
So,
your mom. I want to hug your mom right now. Oh, oh
absolutely.
my goodness. Oh, and just think what a gift she gave you at the same time. This was leading you to where you are now.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
I,
And
I
it didn't
just,
just stop there.
no, please tell me more.
My father at the end of the day came home. He was in the army. And
Hmm.
so he came home at a certain time every day. Now, my father was this very gentle, peaceful warrior. He was a martial artist. And so he just sat with me and he looked at the drawing. And then he said, "Come on." And we went out in the yard. And I didn't know it till years later when I studied Qigong formally, but he was showing me energetic movements to regulate
Mm.
what it was that I was feeling as this little 4-year-old. And we were tossing like chi balls back and forth between each other. And he would say, "What do you need to put in your?"
Oh, we have lost connection for a moment here. Well, I need you to go back to what your dad was doing with you outside because we got disconnected. I'm sorry about that. But you know, it's
Oh,
interesting.
no apology.
It's interesting. You know what I discovered why we did it? I have a provider for virus. And
Oh,
so my computer was at that moment being attacked.
oh
I
my
find
goodness.
that very interesting. Yes. So
Yes.
it's not because we're talking about energies. And you know what? And it lets me know if there is an infiltrator. So go back to your dad. He took you outside and
Okay.
you're throwing the Qigong energy. Yep.
Definitely. So we were throwing the Qigong ball, and he was inviting me to visualize and imagine whatever feelings I was having, whatever pokiness, whatever it was that I needed to still release, to put it in the ball, and then we would toss them, these
Right.
imaginary chi balls. And so that was a really powerful way of learning at such a young age that we can regulate the energy of our experiences after we've encountered toxicity. And for him, this was back in the 60s during the time of the Vietnam War. And I
Mhm.
didn't have the awareness at age 4 that, when daddy was deployed, that meant that he was in this very hostile environment, trying to figure out, as a Black man in the army in Vietnam,
Oh my
how
goodness.
to preserve humanity despite the fact that orders were saying you have to do this or you have to do that. And that
Right.
had been his journey for quite some time. And so, really, when we talk about warriorship and the necessity of being able to use our skills and what we naturally know about energy, and all of us have these skills, whether it's in our consciousness or not, that becomes a really critical part of navigating a world where there is so much chaos, negativity, and wounding.
Hmm.
And so I was really fortunate to have a dad that was really sensitive in that way as well, in terms of the energetic
Oh,
regulation.
I'm just like blown away. I had no idea. And that is, oh my goodness. And for you to have that, you know, genetically and DNA and, now to be able to gift it to the world of women who are going through horrific, and I mean horrific experiences of being involved with narcissistic people, abusers.
Mhm.
I don't know, you know, I just, I myself have been through it, and without, belaboring about me, what, what has been your experience with narcissists
Well,
that created this for you to want to, really narrow it down to this?
it's interesting because I tend to move through the world without a lot of labels. Even though I'm an educator, starting my early career in special education taught me a lot about the benefits, but also the challenges of language and labels.
Right.
And I learned really to be very careful about labels. So I had never had in my mind, in my brain, the idea of who is narcissistic and who's not. I
Right.
came to know it as who are people that are involved with a fair energy exchange and
Mm-hmm.
who are those who, for whatever the reason, are not capable of that, perhaps because of their own wounding. And so as I moved through life, I had several different occasions where the immensity of life and being around toxic individuals took
Right.
such a toll on me physically that 3 times in my life I nearly died. I was physically ill to a point where I was almost not on the planet. And what coupled with that physicality was also emotional anxiety and deep layers of depression, loss, and grief. And so, as a very young person from teenage years to the last bout that I had that was really more major, I think was in the relationship that I was in, where I had this chronic shingles that just wouldn't clear and this gut bloating. And here I was by that point, a healer of about 15 years, and I was
Wow.
not able to do and take care of myself and use strategies that had previously helped me in other times in my life when I had gotten ill. Nothing seemed to be working.
Oh my goodness.
And I got a really clear guidance from God. Okay, this person that you're with is of such a large level of being an energy vampire
Mm-hmm.
that you are just completely discombobulated and you've lost your anchor
Oh wow.
temporarily.
Goosebumps.
So I had to really sit with myself and really look to see what my path had been all along. And when I began to look back at the ways that I had worked with people, I realized, gosh, every single one of my clients, male and female previously, were empathic people that were really highly sensitive, like myself. And
Okay.
every single one of them had had this damage from individuals in their lives that were energy stealers and energy takers. And so when I looked at that and I saw that common thread, and I saw how these clients were able to bloom, I said, Kay, you absolutely know how to get through this. Lean on your tools, but come into the consciousness that you've just been drained across all 5 of your major energy tanks, or if you're from the chakra system, all of your chakras have just been impacted.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the tools through this beautiful system of 5 elements to begin putting yourself back together, body, mind, and soul. And I integrated herbs that resonated with each of the 5 energy tanks to create these decoctions that help to heal the physical aspects. But at the same time, the frequencies of these herbs were releasing all of the heaviness of anxiety and depression, the sense of loss, the sense of not being valued through all of the years of gaslighting. And I began to age backwards.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
noticed that. And clients started noticing that. I've always been this woman that I think genetically tends to look younger than my age. But what happened is on a cellular atomic quantum level,
Right.
transformation was happening at such a profound level because finally I had the words as well as the energetic experiences to understand what I'd been through. And that word narcissist came fully into consciousness, and my being just delved straight into it to say,
Mm.
what is it? beyond what the clinical definitions are.
Right.
Because I think that's only part of it.
Oh, yeah,
What is
absolutely.
this energetically, and how are they moving? And what I came to do through that journey was to come into this deep space of not judging, of just being able to go, okay, I was with this person. What influenced them to be more of an energy taker, such that the more love that I gave, the more jealous he became, more understanding I was, the more he projected that, oh, she's just this person that doesn't ever think about me and my feelings. It was like whatever I came to the table with in positive love was turned around in his perception.
Right.
And it fascinated me. And I said, what do I need to learn from this journey? And I really got the sense, really, we were together for about 5 years, married for 3, but I got the real sense, hey, this is not about you. This is really not your individual story here. Your journey with this is so that you can really understand from this lived perspective and this immersion into what this is energetically.
Right.
It's for you to be able then to bring that understanding to others that are going through this.
God bumps.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
my
for
gosh.
sure. Yeah.
Yes.
And that the 5 elements that you're talking about, can you expand on that for our listeners?
Absolutely. And so just on an experiential level, I really like to help people to feel rather than just to understand with their brains. And so if you could imagine a beautiful metal tank or container that's shiny and filled with light, and that when we are immersed and surrounded by that type of a container, we feel safe. It is our shielding. It is our protection. Our immunity system actually dances in its highest function when that tank is full, and we can connect into God's divinity, that sense of a higher force keeping us in a space where we can be fully relaxed because we're safe. That's the metal element.
Okay.
And so when you think about what a narcissist does, they basically begin a process of eroding that natural metal tank, that shielding that we naturally have. And they do it first through our external energy of our aura, our beautiful protective bubbles. That's where we begin to kind of sense it in the beginning.
Okay.
And it's literally like creating gaps in our aura where then the toxicity of who they are begins to come more inward. And often, one of the first signs that that layer of energy, the metal element tank energy, has been breached is we begin to get ill at a level that is not typical. Suddenly we're getting colds all the time. We've got that bladder infection that just won't clear. It is like people have had rounds of antibiotics and still, and we're noticing that we're getting skin irritations or rashes where we've never had that before. These are all manifestations of the metal element. We're noticing maybe we're getting bronchitis quite frequently, or just having that difficulty taking a deeper breath. It feels like breath is shallow. Or we might be having IBS and large intestine issues. These are all symptoms that that metal element has been breached, and that somewhere in our consciousness and in our nervous system, we're vibrating with an energy of no longer feeling safe. But often as women, we ignore that. We think, oh, I'm just being too sensitive. I know that's what I said. Oh, it's just my normal sensitivity. And it's causing me to feel stressed in this relationship. So I just need to work more with meditating. But I didn't pick up initially, my metal shielding in my tank that governs that protectiveness is being compromised in some way.
Wow.
So I really just invite the audience to just pause for a moment and think about and feel in to their own energy to see if any of what I said is resonating as truth for their experience. Are you experiencing a sense of just not being safe? I know that when I would walk into my home, I would feel like, I don't know who I'm going to get today. Is it going to be the nice person that I fell in love with, or is it be Mr. Grumpy that is going to find fault with everything that I do, so that the home environment no longer felt safe? Right. And I know there are many women out there physically who are unsafe in their homes because a partner is physically abusive, not
Right.
just emotionally abusive. They have both, the double whammy is what I call it. And so it will tend to show up in our bodies through the skin, through the lungs, through the large intestine, through our immunity. And so I invite the listeners just to pause for a moment and see if any of those experiences are happening for them. And the good news is that once you have an awareness that that is the layer of energy being impacted, by being simply conscious of it, you begin to already fill in the gaps. You begin to already create a process of mending by just being aware, oh, I've been impacted on that way.
Right. And not denying it.
Exactly.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the acceptance and willingness just to be in stillness, to say, I don't have to actually do anything. I just need to be aware and observe, is so very powerful, because oftentimes when that layer begins to erode, we get really tired too.
Yeah.
So the idea of, oh no, I have damage, but now I got to do something about it.
Exactly. And the thing is to do nothing except to, like you say, to be aware, to observe, and definitely not to judge our sensitivity.
Right. Absolutely.
Because
To
it's
accept
a beautiful
it.
thing to be sensitive.
But it's interesting in the context of engaging a narcissist, they don't have the sensitivity. They lack empathy. So oftentimes the messages that they're giving us is that it's not okay.
Right.
And through this metal element energy is also that place where we are resilient and very strong. And I remember once my ex turning to me in the context of receiving marriage counseling, and he looked at our counselor and he said with such disgust, she's just weak.
No, wow.
Because I was sensitive.
Right.
And I remember feeling an energy layer that my father had taught me, that when people are trying to diminish.
I find this so fascinating, because the last time this interruption happened, you were talking about your dad outside with you, and now you were just going in to talk about your dad again, and it's almost like he's protecting. He's just showing us, I feel, such profound protection today. It's
absolutely.
Just, so sorry, hon. Your dad, he what?
So let me think.
He was showing you something.
Oh yeah. So what my father showed me about energy is that when someone is diminishing your energy and your soul and criticizing you, or otherwise just discounting you, you're going to feel that energy of the metal tank, that shielding, rise up. It's a very kind of, for lack of any other word, it is in Chinese energy medicine, we call it the soul righteousness. It's not an egoic sense of righteousness, but that righteousness kind of rises up. And so I remember when my ex uttered those words that she's just weak, I literally felt this energy, this metal tank energy, we call it the Wei Qi, go, poof, it came up around me. And I remember looking at him and saying, I am not claiming your projection onto me when I am probably one of the most strongest women on this planet.
Right.
And I didn't say that from a sense of being egoic. I said it from the sense of honoring all of my ancestors who had come before me.
Peaceful warriors.
That's it.
Goddess, right? Yeah.
That's it. So when we find that we have difficulty with just really holding strong to our sense of resiliency and holding that boundary to not allow someone to project something on us that's not true, that when we're able to do that, then we're able to really protect ourselves from the deepest layers of that toxicity. But we can feel really challenged, especially if we've been in a narcissistic relationship for a very long time.
Exactly. I was just going to say, as I mentioned to you, before we started to, actually record about, I'm still having dreams about a partner that, the relationship was over 4 years ago. And it's true. Yeah, absolutely. Everything you are saying is so resonating. And I know our listeners are just going to be just like, oh my gosh, I need to get in touch with this woman now. And they will. I will have all your information for them available. So with regards to the other elements,
Yeah,
because there are the five, right?
There are the five. So we start there. We have to have this protection and shielding, and then we flow into the water element. So if you think of that container holding this beautiful, pristine, pure water, right? That water element is essence. I call it life force essence. The Chinese word for it is Jing, Jing. It is the elixir of life. It is the essence of DNA and what allows us to move forward generation to generation, and even on a soul level as well. And so this layer of energy is so critical to our kidneys and our adrenals. So oftentimes I hear that, and I felt it myself. There is profound adrenal exhaustion that happens when we are having to engage the toxicity of someone that's constantly pulling and challenging us. And often this is the layer too where our deepest wounds are. So they are actually activating and perhaps even triggering some of our old ancestral wounds. So even with women who have really rock solid, strong sense of self, can find themselves falling into places of really low self-esteem because they are being cut off from their ancestral energies that play a role in how strong and how much of a sense of wholeness that we have when we stand in the world. And so this is a very critical layer that energy vampires and narcissists can attack.
Right.
And so the emotional aspect of that is that what we might notice is the sensation of fears beginning to rise and dominate our lives. When maybe we weren't really a fearful person before the relationship. Maybe we were quite adventurous and quite able to move into fear and move with it to grow. Suddenly we find ourselves shrinking back in response to fearfulness. And we find our sense of courage, because courage is a type of energy, diminished. And so we become contracted and smaller over time, where we're challenging ourselves less, and we're making what is our sense of comfort zone smaller and smaller the more we stay in this relationship. And so we have to really, as part of that recovery, restore that tank. And the one thing that really restores it well is this idea of radical rest. Not just ordinary rest, but we take our me time and we do our pedicures and we go out and we have our massages and we get our healing work and we go to our acupuncturist or our chiropractors. That's all very valuable. But there's a type of radical soul rest that we have to really invite ourselves into. And it's that place of deep stillness where we allow ourselves to just take some things off of our plate. I often call it my laying like a lizard time on my bamboo floors, where I just shut down all the tech and just lay there and invite the universe just to flow through me in the way that it would, without any expectation of doing anything other than just being.
Right.
And that radical rest is what fills that tank.
Okay.
But one of the challenges with that, Colli, is that when we're going through the process of really discovering the damage that has been done by the narcissist, and we're really working through all the different layers, we can get into a pattern where we want to stay in motion all the time.
Right.
That
busy.
Busy. And so coming into radical rest can be one of the most challenging things. And that's why I developed these 5-minute resets where I invite ladies to lay down, and through my voice, I emit the frequency of the water element. So all they have to do is just rest and listen. And my voice guides them so that it keeps the brain focused, because the brain's going to want to run in
Right.
all these
Yeah. Yeah.
different directions.
Let's get busy.
Right? Let's
Yeah.
keep it noisy. Let's keep it going. And that has been perhaps one of the greatest tools that I've used, not only for myself, but for my clients, to really replenish that water tank. And what's interesting to me is that when women allow that, they not only heal their kidneys and their adrenals at a profound level, but they begin to access the well of healing that comes from reconnecting with their ancestry on a soul.
I love it.
So there's a deep pouring into them in a way that is rich. And one of my clients, she said that to me. She says, Kay, my kidneys are actually failing. And they were. She was at stage 5 kidney disease, age 63, being told that she was going to have dialysis for the rest of her life or a kidney transplant.
Oh, my word.
And so, yeah, we started working together because I was thinking, this cannot happen. This is an amazing, beautiful soul with so many gifts. And she's active. She's got grandkids. It's important that she just, as part of her new phase of life, be able to move on and be physical. This would just be horrific for her. Plus, she had been in 4 car wrecks. So she was living every day with a constant pain in her back, and she was on medications for that. And so we began working, and I said, we're going to start with this water element tank. That's your kidneys. We've got to start there. But let's make sure your metal tank is full, that you're feeling safe. And so she would come for healing sessions in my it's almost a womb-like treatment space that just wraps around women. And in 90 days, we were able to reverse stage 5 kidney disease back to stage 3, which meant she did not have to have dialysis.
Oh my gosh.
It was incredible. And a lot of that is because she allowed herself to access the depth of her ancestral healing.
Right.
She let go of the toxicity that was holding her back on that layer. And when she was able to do that, her kidneys just woke up. And it was amazing. And then something else happened, Colli. Her back pain went away.
Kidneys and back, right? For sure.
Right? All that inflammation, kidneys, water element, back, spine. She was telling me the other day, she says, hey, I don't know quite what to do with this. She says, I'm used to taking naps, and I don't know what to do with myself that I don't need to nap anymore. I've got so much energy, and I just don't know what to do with myself.
Such a change, right?
Right. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, the kidneys, like the fear, like you say, the fear element is, and all that, is that it brings me back to, what you mentioned, the discombobulation, right?
Right.
It's like so discombobulated. You don't know who or what or where or when or what's next, or, and it's the walking on eggshells around these people and, never knowing if the shoe's going to drop, right?
That's exactly the feeling.
So how could one's body possibly be, healthy?
Absolutely.
After a continual drip of that, it's a wearing away of the soul, a wearing away of the physical, mental, emotional. And oh my goodness, wow. I'm so happy for her. I'm so
right.
Oh yeah. Just bring tears to my eyes. Just a precious woman who has been revived.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And with a mission in her life, as this vibrancy came back into her body and soul, she was absolutely able to attract a new life partner. And they got married, and they started a church together, and they're working this ministry now to restore other people. And I'm like, wow. So, I love that she took it and rippled it out.
Oh, for sure.
Other people that were needing that, because a lot of times, we can still be in those states of exhaustion where we're still processing for many years, even as we recover. But again, this is the nature of the water element healing, is that when it heals, it immediately allows you the capacity to then be impactful with others in your world.
Absolutely.
And so And that's part of like the wood element tank, which is taking that and then being creative with what
Mm-hmm.
you put into the world and really creating more abundance. Her tribe got suddenly bigger, right?
Oh,
And resources would come into their church and community. And so this idea of flowing into abundance, that's the wood element. So
okay.
oftentimes too, women are finding that they have financial and material challenges, and
Right.
that somewhere in that abuse, they've aligned with an energy of scarcity.
Oh, oh.
And when we're aligned with scarcity, remember how I said that we can start to contract. And
Mm-hmm,
part
mm-hmm.
of that contraction is the imagining and the alignment with narrations and stories of scarcity that can actually create difficulties on top of the very real financial problems that can happen when we leave narcissists. Sometimes there's the expense of divorce, and there's the
Right.
expense of, starting over in new careers and moving from one place to another. So there's all of these very real material things that are happening. And the wood element also rules our nervous system. So our nervous systems are shot and our vagus nerve is overstimulated. And yet this is the time when we most need to tap into abundance. But our
Mm-hmm.
nervous system is vibrating at that frequency that makes it really challenging. So some of the resets really focus on the restoration of the vagus nerve and also spiritually the most benevolent aspects of ourself, which is held in the wood tank, and
Mm-hmm.
being able to connect into source's benevolence and
Oh,
allow ourselves that invitation to take it in and engage in that self-love. All of that is the wood element. So when
wow.
we start to feel that in, I watch women go out and create amazing new strands of careers. One of my clients, she dreamed of having a career in travel, but her wood element, which also rules some of the depression too, was so damaged that she was debilitated and she was living on governmental assistance and she was just having difficulty being self sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
She previously was.
He was previously, speaking of the wood element. Oh my goodness.
Where did it cut me off?
You were talking about the lovely lady who was having challenges financially, was living on government assistance, and she was previous.
Yeah. So she was in the state of not being able to be self-sufficient across so many different levels. And previously she had this brain where she was really creative, could think about things through one of those minds that she could just see many facets and things like that. But all of that began to contract. So when she began working with the wood element and the resets that would help her to kind of expand and reconnect and mend her overactive vagus nerve, she
Right?
began a new career, her dream career in the travel industry at the age of 50.
Oh,
So now
wow.
she's out flying the friendly skies, if you will.
I
And as
love
she
it.
goes, she's also achieved her certification in Qigong. So she teaches other flight attendants how to kind of calm their vagus nerves in that really crazy, high powered, stressful, demanding field.
Yeah.
And so she's gone from just really not being able to be self sufficient to loving herself, having this benevolence, and teaching other people how to do nervous system resets on the fly.
Oh my
And so,
goodness. I would
yeah,
love to
it's
I would
amazing.
love to have met her in my years of flying as a flight attendant, because it is a
You
huge
still
stress.
might.
Well, I don't do the work anymore as a flight attendant, but I may meet her one day. You never know, right? That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I
Yes.
never thought of the wood element because I have studied feng shui a little bit through one of my dear friends who is a master, but I never looked at it this way. This is amazing. I'm just like enthralled with what you are sharing with us. Oh my gosh. Like, it brings to mind, chop wood, carry water. The
That's it.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the wood can be, think about, a wood can either be like a willow tree that when a storm comes, it bends and flexes, or it
Mhm.
can be overly rigid like this oak tree that just won't budge at all.
Right.
And so oftentimes when women have depression that's not budging and they've gone through counseling, maybe they've even been on psychiatric medications, so it's lingering. That was her journey. She went from doctor to doctor, therapist to therapist, and she had this really profound depression that just would not budge. That is the wood element being rigid and holding on to that depression. So in working, she became like that willow tree that was flexible so that her nervous system could kind of regulate itself as she moves through experience. And that is what allowed her depression to finally release so that she was able to be her true full self outside of that profound sadness and contraction. So the wood element, think about how many of us just really struggle with depression. And I know that was my journey as well, just really struggling with that.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
I know quite a few people that will definitely be in touch with you. For sure. Oh my goodness. Wow, this is wonderful. And so there's two more elements, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the tree, right, is rooted in what? The earth, the soil. So when we think about the last time you may have stood on bare ground with your bare feet. And imagine that sensation that your feet were picking up, the soles connecting into the earth, literally anchoring you in that moment, whether you were fully conscious of it or not.
I feel a vibration when I do that.
You do? You do too?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah, I do.
It's amazing. And does it ripple upward throughout your entire being?
It does.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can access that anytime by just imagining that. And when we add in the understanding that earth element rules our sense of centeredness, but also our sense of grounding, but it also rules our sense of being at home with what? Ourselves first. It rules our literal sense of home in our spaces, because often our home spaces have become disrupted and reflection of that toxicity is there. And so that earth element is that place where we restore our ability to nourish ourselves. And we can only nourish ourselves when we are connected in to our centeredness.
Right.
And to know that that centeredness is always available to us, no matter how much we've been damaged.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we do at our Get Your Mojo Back is I am known as the soup queen, because I use food as medicine. So we create together healing teas and healing soups that have all of the different qualities that nourish the earth element. And I'll tell you real quick, because they're simple. They are things like pumpkin and butternut squash and herbs like cinnamon and ginger and all of these spicy things that we partake of in the fall. Those are all the earth element foods. And so by just even having a cup of chai tea that has those spices, when you're highly anxious, begins to reduce the anxiety. And we have this beautiful herb called musheng in Chinese medicine that acts like the natural Xanax in terms of helping us to center and calm. So we do a lot of work with really integrating these simple things that you could drink and eat into the earth element to restore it. And once we restore that, then the next element just comes so easily. It's the element of joy, fire element. And I want to just invite everyone in this moment, Colli, think about a time, and it might have been earlier with your grandkids, of something that you experienced that just brought a smile to ear, and just allow your body to re-experience what that was for you. Feel it in your face as you connect in with that joy moment. Notice how you were breathing. What were the scents you were experiencing? What were the sounds? How were your feelings flowing? And when you connect with that joyousness, it ignites your Shen, your soul, and it begins a process of reconnecting you to purpose on that deeper level. Because God moves that through joy, which has been disrupted by the years sometimes of being immersed in someone else's toxicity, by the years of being drained.
Right.
And so it's a simple thing of bringing ourselves back to that moment of joy to begin healing the fire element. which is our heart center.
Yes, it is.
Right?
I
And
know.
it's our social tribes.
Right. Yes, absolutely. It's our connection to those. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know for a fact when I studied yoga, I remember this so well. My master yoga instructor, she is now in her 80s and she's still teaching yoga, and I love her dearly, Sandra Samaritino. She, the joy bridge right across the shoulders, right? And so
Right?
you can see it in people with their postures. Yes, I know computers and people's necks are down and all that, but still the way people carry themselves, right?
Right?
If it's not open,
Right.
it's closing down because there's more grief than the joy, right? And it's the joy bridge, right? It's the joy
Yes.
bridge. Yeah. Yeah. So
I love that. The joy bridge
yeah, it's
to
the bridge.
reconnect us
Yeah.
to our capacity to connect deeply as humans with one
Yeah.
another first, with a social tribe, and then to connect deeply with source. And sometimes the turning in of the shoulders is also protective too,
Oh,
because we
absolutely.
become contracted and we're trying so desperately to protect the jewel of our heart and the soul that dwells within it. And
Yeah.
so that's a really common posture that you describe that I see often in clients. And sometimes it manifests actually as neck and shoulder pain. And so part of what we do is this joy reset where we just bring the shoulders back and open up and throw the arms out and see how big of a circle we can create with our arms. And that naturally on a physical layer opens the heart back up. And then just breathing and feeling, as you say, the joy bridge.
Yeah,
Come back.
absolutely. Come back.
It's
Yeah.
always there for us,
Well,
right?
I liken it to, because we reconnected through Joey. Well, we connected through him and then reconnected when he had you on a couple of weeks ago. And just seeing you, it was like brought just this flood, a tsunami of joy into my beingness. And I just went, I have got to have you on this podcast because I want to share this love, joy, and just this amazing woman who it's like Joey said, the one word that came to mind, grace, pure elegance and grace. And there's you just resonate this beautiful grace. I'm just, oh yeah, I just, this has been so fascinating and I want to have you back on again. But I do, apart from what can you leave the audience with in terms of not just what you do or who you be, but I like to know some inspiration for the audience because I'm going to share your information with them. And I know they're going to want to contact you because I did. so, so what can you share with them to leave them with today?
Absolutely. And Colli, thank you so much for all your kindness and your kind words that are just filling me with such nourishment. It's such a thrill to share this space together. And what I would really love to leave with your audience is this idea of hope that no matter how damaged you may feel after going through a narcissistic abuse, no matter how many years it's been or how short it's been, we are all capable of restoring each one of these 5 tanks. That the universe is already sending you the resources to begin restoring them. And just by simply knowing that they exist,
right?
You've already created the openness of restoration. So know that that healing is already yours, and your inner healer absolutely will be aware to watch for the signs that will unfold over the next hours, over the next few days, over the weeks ahead. And you're going to look back and go, wow, I created this by coming together in love with all of the other human beings who have already survived narcissistic abuse. gotten to the other side, and I have already come into that tribe. So that's what I'd love to leave with your audience, is that hope.
Wow. That is, yeah, it's very heartfelt, and I'm just so grateful to you for who you be and all you're doing and bringing to the world of women and sensitive women who, I have to actually end here because I just love you bit to bits. And I'm so grateful, Kay. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And to all our listeners, please know I will be posting information and you will be able to be in touch with this beyond amazing, just beautiful soul, precious soul. Thank you so much, Kay. Thank you. Blessings.
Colli.
Blessings and love. Yeah, I love you too, girl. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay.